Okay, friends, welcome to another edition of Jenny's Sewing Room. Apparently, I was not bringing enough content for my fans. Thank you, girls. You know who you are. And so I am back with another edition of What in the World is Going On in Jenny's Sewing Room. And what in the world is going on in Jenny's Sewing Room is pretty much sheer madness. So I thought I would give you a little update on what I'm working on. If you follow Jenny's Sewing Room before, you may notice that I have one fewer item in the stack of fabric here. There was a silk up here, out of which I've made a lovely silk dress. And actually there might be two, because I don't even know if the dress in a weekend had happened. And there was a red that was also up there. Also gone. So what am I working on this week? Well, I'm working on a lot of things. Number one, stays. The big time consumer of stays is stuffing all these channels. Can you see the channels? There are lines here with cording. So they'll be like this. Well, the big time is sewing in those channels and then stuffing them. And so to do that, I use a loop turner, which is of course conveniently located underneath. A loop turner, which has a little tiny hook on it. I think maybe I did a video of that once. And cording, which I pull through. So I'm working on those stays. Those are for Ellen. My computer's now crooked. I really need some sort of a setup that works here, but I do not have one. So welcome to the rocking ship. Okay, so stuffing stays, that's for work. Big project. I'm going to clock in and start working on that here shortly. Second project is a marvelous frock coat for Trevor. It's also for work, but it's a private commission. It was finished once, and now I'm fixing things because the collar was bad. Now the collar is much better. Those are the buttons I'm going to put back on later. The cuffs were bad. The cuffs are now much better. The pattern was bad. The pattern is still bad, but what are you going to do? So I'm almost finished with that. I need to sew these sleeves back in, fix a little bit on the back side, and sew those buttons back on, and then we'll be good to go. So the frock coat is almost done, and it's fabulous. And Trevor looks marvelous in it, I'll tell you that. So, frock coat in process. Next, perhaps you remember my knitting. Well, I'm still knitting. I'm a terrible knitter, so I'm not very far on it. But this is the one that I'm knitting left-handed and then right-handed and then left-handed and right-handed, so that I knit all the time. So it's coming along, but I'm a terrible knitter and I'm slow. And when I'm knitting right-handed, I'm even slower. And so knitting away. Did I mention how slow I am? And of course I stopped on the right hand, so I have to start on the right hand. So knitting, knitting, knitting. A friend recently commented that she thinks that people who learn to knit first don't crochet, and people who learn to crochet first don't knit. And I think that's generally the way it works. I do crochet a little bit, but I have to, because that's my legacy from Grandma Skelly. My Grandma Skelly was born in, was she born in Indiana? Anyway, lived in North Dakota. Maybe she was born in North Dakota. Anyway, she lived in North Dakota. She had many stories about North Dakota. Her dad worked on a ranch or something. One time there was a huge windstorm that blew up, and they all rushed into the house, and Dad was not back into the house yet. And the windstorm, sandstorm, whatever, it was so severe that he nearly blew away. He grabbed the doorknob of the house and he was sideways, horizontal, because the wind was blowing as he was holding onto that door handle. Now, we're not really sure how you grab hold of the door handle if the door was closed, but maybe the door was blowing. Wait a minute. Then he would be blowing through the door. Well, we're not sure the story was entirely true, but it was a huge windstorm, and her dad had to fight the wind, and we're pretty sure that part was true. Anyway, Grandma Skelly was a crocheter, and Grandma Skelly crocheted all the time. Grandma Skelly seriously crocheted all the time. One year, all of us grandkids, there were 7 of us, I think, we all got Afghans that year. And everybody got an Afghan that they liked. Each of us got an Afghan. Mine is pink. It's downstairs. I still have it. Brian's, I think, was green. David's was maybe red, you know, with multicolored yarns within. So Grandma was a crocheter. When Grandma was in the rehab hospital, basically in her last few years, one time I was there and she was crocheting on something, and she would fall asleep crocheting and then she'd wake up and go back to crocheting again. And she told me that she had had a really bad attitude, and every time she heard somebody in the hallway, it would just annoy her because they were making noise and she didn't want to hear them. And then she realized, I have a really bad attitude. And so she asked for some yarn and crochet hooks, and the nurse brought her some. And she decided that she would crochet lap quilts for all of the permanent residents of the nursing home, the mentally disabled people who live down the hall and around the corner. That's not what she called them, of course. And so she had this many that she had to crochet for those people. And darn if she did not get enough crocheted so that all of those people who lived in this facility could have a crocheted lap quilt. Now, her crocheting was not as perfect as it had been when she was in better health, because she was in her very late 90s at this point. But she was able to crochet lap quilts for those people that lived there, and it also improved her attitude tremendously. So, crochet, such a nice thing to do. Knitting, also nice. Big fan of both of them. So, speaking of the crocheting, I'm going to put the knitting down, and I'm going to share my crochet project. This one's a little unfortunate. There's a story behind it. I'm not sure I remember all the story behind it, but I have this baby blanket that I'm working on. It's very pretty. Oh, that's the back. Sorry. I'm holding on to the place where the crochet hook has fallen out. That's the nice thing about crochet, though, is if you lose the hook, you know, there's just one spot for you to lose the work. There we go. So here's my blanket. And it's a cotton. It's nice. It's kind of pretty. Is that nice? Problem. I don't know what pattern I was using. I haven't worked on this in years. In fact, I'd kind of forgotten about it, and it turned up somewhere that the boys pointed out that was there. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I'm going to take some pictures of this, and I'm going to post it on a group that I'm in that has needle artists, and see if somebody can tell me what pattern I could be doing on it. See, it's got kind of a chain around the edge. It's a sort of a self border. Isn't that cute? And then it's lumpy. Cute. So that's my crochet project. So I've got a crochet project, a stuffing project, a knitting project, and a sewing project. And they're all in various states. And that's kind of how life is. So my friend asked me last night, she said, why is it hard for people who have ADD and ADHD to finish projects? And she was sincerely asking the question. So the answer is that people who are ADD and ADHD have lots of projects going on. They're doing stuff all the time. And this strikes your fancy, and then this strikes your fancy, and then that strikes your fancy. And so you just sort of flip from thing to thing until you forget what your crochet pattern was and can't finish the project. So that is a little bit from Jenny's crazy sewing room. I have to decide what I want to do. If I want to finish the frock coat and have it finished, I probably should do that because it's this close. And this is the thing is, if you're doing something for somebody else, you get paid for it. And so then that's some encouragement to finish a project. So I think I'll finish this frock coat because I'm super close. And then I can finish the stays, which I'm really pretty close on also. And I'm actually not going to work on these sewing and quilting thing, or these, sorry, I'm going to work on the sewing. I'm not going to work on the knitting and crocheting right now because those are things that can wait. Oh, speaking of quilting, I forgot one more thing. It's handy at least. So I'm also doing, I got some quilt fabrics a long time ago in one of those times of buying, and I'm working on, so this is called Eliza's Indigos, the colors are, and they're blues and yellows and creams and browns. There, get a little of the natural light so you can see the colors. And I am doing English paper piecing in diamonds because all my friends do octagons, and so I have to do something different. So I'm doing diamonds. And it's only this big at this point. It's all hand sewn because English paper piecing. And so this is what I work on a lot of the time on Tuesday Night Sewing at the Prairie. So I'm doing little diamond motifs where you have a light at the top and then 2 mid-tones in the middle and then a dark at the bottom. At least for now, that's what I'm doing. And so I'm working on those, putting those together. And when I run out of, or what I have to work with on those is these little pieces. So I have a little workbox that has the paper templates to sew them to, needle and thread, and lots of cut diamonds, which are larger, of course, so you can wrap them around the paper. So I could carry this with me and just have that and have a little task that I can drop in a tote bag or a purse. And then if I want to sew some of the little diamonds into larger diamonds, then I can throw that bag in. And then if I want to do the full quilting, I can carry the big piece along with me. So those are some of my projects. Ha! It's fun. It's always fun around here in Jenny's Sewing Room. Thank you for caring and wanting to see more of me. Next time, perhaps I will have washed my hair. So I will see you later. Have a great day and do something crafty that makes you feel happy. If it does. If it doesn't, don't. Find something else instead. Read a good book. Bye-bye.